Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining for our end of March OpenAlex webinar. I'm really excited today. It's often just me on these webinars, but we've got a few other OpenAlex people to talk about some exciting developments. I'm not going to talk much, but I'm going to be here to help with the Q&A. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Jason Priem, founder and CEO, to talk about what we're going to be talking about today. Jason, over to you.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. I'm also going to be super brief. Some of y'all may have met Brett already. But mostly I just want to introduce him. He is our new chief of UI design. I don't know, I think senior user interface designer or something is the official title, but he's in charge of the front end, and not just doing the code, but also like working a lot on the products. He's been doing lots of talking with people, and he comes from a super cool product background. He's built some really awesome things. Used to work at Google. Super delighted to have Brett. And Brett is going to tell you about a new product that we're rolling out, a new user interface for OpenAlex that I think is going to be super awesome. I'm really excited about it. So that's all I have to say. I'll turn it over to Brett.
Great. Thank you, Jason. And hello, everybody. As I said, my name is Brett Lockspeiser. I'm pretty new to the team. I just joined about 4 months ago, but I've been really excited to work on building open access products that are going to hopefully help you guys out in a lot of your work. I should mention also that I'm brand new to the field of research analytics. Like I said, I joined 4 months ago, and I'm just getting my education on what this space looks like, what's important, what the problems are to people. So I've been learning a lot, but I'm also very eager to hear feedback from all of you. It'll help me learn about what's important and what you guys are trying to do. But just to jump in, we are going to be taking a sneak peek at a new OpenAlex analytics platform. And I'm going to start by just a few slides to give you an overview. Start actually on here on these slides. So I say this is a sneak peek because this product is not quite ready yet. It's been in development, it's still got kinks and design to work out. What you see today actually looks completely different than it looked a week ago and completely different than a week before that. So things are still going to be changing. And if you happen to see any bugs or weird oddities, things not quite working out in the demo, please be kind and forgive me, but we're going to be working on fixing those up. Our plan right now is to keep developing this in alpha for maybe about another month and then start to release it into a private beta. So if you guys are interested in doing one-on-one testing sooner, you could get in touch with me and I can give you a test drive. Or if you want to get access to the private beta, just make sure that you're keeping an eye on all of our communications to get inside to that. Okay, so this new platform, OpenAlex Analytics, it's a new query engine on top of the existing OpenAlex data set. So we're not, in this presentation, what we're talking about now, it's not about new data in the data set, but it's about new and more powerful ways to ask questions of that data and get data back out. So we're looking at more advanced use cases in research analytics that aren't served so well by the current OpenAlex website. The use cases that we're thinking about, I'm sure these are familiar to a lot of you guys, things like summarizing and comparing research outputs and impacts, discovery of experts or institutions for collaboration, increasing grant revenue by getting information about funders and what they do and don't do, and reporting for compliance. So those are some of the big use cases that we're thinking about in a slightly more advanced mode than maybe the current website is helping you do. So let me just think about some high-level problems as I've been talking to people in this space. Some of the high-level things that are hard for people as they're doing their jobs today. One is just getting all the data that you need and in the right format that you need it is too hard right now. OpenAlex as an open source database lets you get a ton of data, but it's still not necessarily so easy to get 1 million rows of data with exactly the columns that are important to you in an easy way. It's possible, but it's a little bit hard. So in this new platform, we're going to let you customize the data format that you want. Tell us exactly what piece of information you do or don't need, and we'll let you download it all at once. And we're going to do that even up to hundreds of millions of rows. We're going to let you click a button and download 300 million rows of data. And we're going to be able to do that for hundreds of millions of rows in a couple hours, not in days. And for most of the smaller exports, we're only talking about thousands. It's really just going to be about minutes to prepare downloads like that. And again, here, because we are an open source platform, we're going to give you everything we've got. There's no data behind some proprietary system that's hidden away from you. We're giving you direct access and let you download everything you want in one shot. Okay, so another problem is that when you're asking interesting questions, when it's not just something simple, especially about authors or institutions or funders, there's too much processing and too many steps that you have to get through to slice and process and aggregate your data. I've talked to a lot of people who have, they have maybe a grad student writing Python scripts to be able to get one data and then aggregate it and then filter it separately. Or people are, downloading sheets into Excel and using pivot tables and custom filters. A lot of that can work, but it's a little bit slow and cumbersome. So what we're going to try to do here, and what this new product is doing, is we let you get any result type you want that can be grouped out of any set of works that you want, and we calculate metrics on that set on the fly. So this one is a little bit technical, obscure, but as we go through this demo, hopefully this will be clear what this means. But this is sort of a secret formula that we're using here that lets you ask interesting questions about authors or institutions while having control over, exactly which work you want to consider when you ask that question, and will give you calculated metrics on the fly for any of these queries. So here, maybe I'm just going to mention is that doing this is computationally more expensive than what the current OpenAlex website does. The current site is really great at just looking things up really fast. But here we're introducing an engine that's actually doing calculation and aggregation on the fly for you. So one, it's a little bit slower than the current OpenAlex website, but hopefully not too slow. And two is that it is a lot more expensive to run. We have to pay our data services a lot more money to run these kind of queries. So we are, thinking about a sustainability model for this product. We definitely want everybody to be able to have, some number of queries for free every month, say, but this is probably going to be offered in an unlimited usage with some kind of subscription package. We're still thinking about those details. So if you guys have strong opinions about what you would like that to look like or what would work for you, this is a great time for us to hear it. Okay, here's another problem, and this one, I'm feeling this really hard because I had never used SciVal before 4 months ago, and I went in to try to learn how to use SciVal, and I found it to be incredibly complicated, right? There's a million different tabs and views and reports and pages, and for me to wrap my head around exactly what's happening is very hard. I still feel like I'm just an amateur at using SciVal right now, along with some of the other tools. They can be powerful, but they're incredibly complex, incredibly hard to learn how to use. So our goal is just to create a single, simple, but powerful interface that lets you ask and answer a broad range of questions. So I think you'll see in the demo that you can learn how to use this interface in about 10 minutes. And once you grok the basic idea of how it works, there's a very large range of questions that you can answer using a few simple pieces. And it's just one interface to learn, which is great for you when you need to learn it. It's also great if you want to share results with somebody else, because you can just copy a link, send it to them, and what they get is something that's clear and easier to understand. So that's one of our goals. So I'm now going to jump into a little bit of a demo of the product itself. So I'm going to sort of structure this demo just around example use case questions. We've been collecting a list of about 80 questions that someone doing research analytics might have in their job, and then linking those out to the query that can answer those questions. So I'm just going to walk you through a bunch of these examples, sort of increasing in complexity. And as we go, you should get a sense of how the product works and what it can do. Great. So let's start with a very simple one, right? I'm going to just filter for the ones I have in mind. So here's a question. What work does Moss Landing Marine Labs produce, right? This is a pretty simple question. I'm going to click on it, and here we go. This is a query where we're looking for a set of works, and the only filter we care about is that we want the institution to be Moss Landing Marine Laboratories. This is a query that you could do on OpenAlex website right now, but there are a few things here that are very different and new. The one important one is that we're structuring all of the results as a data table. So you can see it looks and feels just like a table. And this gives you the power to say exactly which fields you care about that you want to add for your result set. So I'm going to look at, these are the titles that we have right now. And I can click this plus button here to see for works, we have tons of different columns available to you. And some of them right now are turned on, some are turned off. Let's say that I also care about the author names and the DOI for all of these columns that I'm getting back. I can select those and hit apply. And then now we're gonna run the new query with the new data. And here's an example of how I can say it's a little bit slower since we're doing a lot more real-time processing to get this done, but here we go. This now gets you the DUI column and the author names column on this data table. And note for author names as well, we're able to give you for certain fields that will have multiple results, we're collapsing those all into one cell, which I think makes it a lot easier for processing than having an arbitrary number of columns for different number of results that you get. So the other thing that's exciting and new about this sort of table layout is that once I've defined what data structure I care about and want to work with, I can export all of that data very easily. So if I wanted to just select a couple of rows to export, I could do that, but probably you want to select all of them. So I'd hit select all here, and you can see right now I'm selecting the first 100 results. These are just the results that are actually returned on this page. But probably you want to actually select all of the result set, just like that. And now that I've selected all of these, I can hit the download button. And this will start an export process. There's only about 2,000 results, so this is going to happen pretty quick. I can hit export, and it's going to generate a process to export the results. And then in 5 minutes, you'll get an email that looks kind of just like this, that says your query is ready, and you can click here to download a CSV of that result set. So in this case, it's only 2,000 works. That's not huge, but like I said, we're not limiting the number of results you can get. So if you want to get 100,000, a million, 100 million, we're going to let you download all of those into a CSV file. If they get super large, like hundreds of millions, we'll chunk it out into a few smaller CSV files so that it's easier for processing. But this is sort of the idea that you can come here, tell us what you want, tell us what data you want, and we'll immediately give it, all of it to you to download and use. Okay, so this was a pretty simple works query. Let's go back and take a look at another one that's maybe a little more complicated. So are there publications in the last 5 years from the University of Victoria that NSERC funded, which are not open access? Click on that and see here now I developed a query that just has a lot more filters on it, right? It's got University of Victoria's institution, it's got a funder, a year range, and a criteria for OpenAlex. Building out these queries is pretty much just like it is in OpenAlex right now. I've got a plus button to add more filters. I can choose any of the different filter types that we have here. And if I want to add a new one, I can just click add. And let's type in Kyle's name here, right? And I've added a new filter onto this query. So let's cancel that right now and still look at this right here. The other thing I wanted to note here is that, we're trying to make this nice and simple. We've noticed that, a lot of really interesting questions can be answered with 2, 3, 4 filters. They don't necessarily get to be huge, but if you do have queries that are a lot more complicated with lots of different filter steps, we also have a different interface here with this sort of purple outline button that will show you the entire query that you just created in a more structured way, where you can see each filter line by line. You can add and remove from here, and we'll also show you explicitly which the return columns or the sort order is that you're going to be looking at. We'll come back to this in a little bit later. There's another advanced feature I'll show you, but let's just keep moving along with more examples. So far we're just looking at work. So this is pretty similar to what OpenAlex does right now with a few differences. But now let's look at something involving authors, right? So again, here's a really basic query that you might ask. Who are the world experts on macrocytosis? So this time I'm going to click on it. And now we see that we're looking at authors, not at works. But we're still drawing those authors from a set of works. So what we're doing here is we're saying, let's look at all of the works that have macrocytosis in them. And then let's group those by the authors so that we can get a final result table that shows both the author objects. So these are in green, they have to do with the author. And then on the right, we have in blue the things that are really being derived from the works. And those are the metric that we can calculate by aggregating all those works together. So works count is the easiest one that we always give by default. But if I click on this metrics button here, now I can see any other kind of metrics that I might want to add. And so let's say I want to see all of these different metrics. And I can run that and apply. And now we can see we've got authors, and I'm seeing metrics calculated for those authors just about the works where the keyword is macrocytosis. So the question was, who are the world experts? I started by sorting this by works count, but if I wanted to choose a different metric as how I want to judge who's the world expert, I could sort by one of these metrics instead. And so this grouping a set of works into the sort of the output result type, the output entity that you want, is one of the big sort of powerful things that's new about this analytics platform. And if you click on here, you can do this by any entity type that we recognize. We've got 20 different types of things, and I could take that same work set of works about macrocytosis and say, actually, I want to know who are the funders that are funding that work, or what countries are the top countries that come from that same work set. And I can switch back and forth. Also, if I want to go back to just say the work set itself, I can choose works, and then I'll just see the set of works about macrocytosis. So here, this is a pretty simple query. It's just one filter on the works, but you notice also we now have a green button for adding filters as well as the blue button. The blue one is filtering the work set, and the green one has to do with the properties of the entity that you end up with. So the author properties themselves. So let's look at another query that uses that in a pretty common way. So let's see, I had this one how about this one? This is something that might come up in a compliance use case, is which researchers at the University of Florida have received funding from the Chinese government? I'm gonna click on this one. And now you can see we're looking for authors, and we only care about authors who are at the University of Florida. That's something that has the property of the authors themselves, but we only want to draw those authors out of works that are funded by the Chinese government scholarship. So now we're building up little complexity. We're aggregating, grouping by authors, but we have filters both on the resulting authors and on the work sets that we want to consider to get that list of authors. And here it is, these 12 authors at the University of Florida received funding from the Chinese government. All right, let's look at one other interesting one about authors. Okay, so this question is, what institutions do researchers who did their PhD at Leiden University work at now? Right, so this is one that it would be hard to answer with the current OpenAlex. You have to do a lot of processing yourself, but what we're going to click on here, and what we're looking at here now is first I'm getting a list of all the authors who had a work which is a dissertation at Leiden University. And then I've added a column for the current institution for that author. So this one is a little bit more tricky because we're actually going from works to authors to institutions. So it's sort of 3 steps to get the answer that we want, but we're still able to do that because we've got the information about the current institution on the author. So by adding that, I've now come up with a list of all of the institutions that the authors of PhDs at Leiden University are currently working at. So hopefully it's starting to make sense what this structure is going to look like. Here I want to show you another new feature that we've got in the analytics platform. So, we've just generated this list of 20 people who did their PhDs at Leiden University. I might want to save that list of people and include it in some other queries. Maybe I want to say, what are all the works that all of these people have ever produced in their careers? So we can do that now with this labels feature. We can create a custom label and we can include all of these authors in it. So I'm going to do that, just say, let's include all of these different authors, and I'm going to click the labels button. And so here I can apply an existing label. This is what I have, or let's just say, let's create a new label. So we'll call this, what am I call it? Leiden PhDs. Great. So I've now just created this label and applied all 20 of these authors to that label. So if I now want to do a search, this is something like, show me all the works that Leiden PhDs have done. I'm going to hit this reset button just to get me a fresh query right here. And let's say I want to do works where the author, and instead of just listing one author, I'm going to change this operator to say matches any item in label. And now I'm going to choose the Leiden PhDs. And let's run this search. See, this one might take a minute to run. Okay, there we go. And so now we're looking at all the works that any of those authors in this label, in this list, have created. So this is a powerful feature that has lots of use cases. You can make lists and labels, not just for authors, but for any entity type. So you could make a list of institutions that you're tracking. You could use the authors to define the different departments in your institution or university and be able to search against them in different ways. You can make a list of works, a list of topics, anything that is an entity you can make a list of. And then in your search, you can use it as a shorthand for searching against a big list like that. Okay, I'm going to move now on to, let's think about some institutions. So here's a query that I think is just interesting to look at. Which institutions have the most retracted works? This is kind of maybe a wall of shame kind of query, but who knows, maybe they're doing good research. So I'm just looking for institutions now, but I want to know where they are from works where the type is retraction. And that gives me this ranked list of all the retractions we've ever seen grouped by the institutions that were associated with them with the works count on the right. So let's do another one with institutions, but this time with a little bit more interesting metrics involved. So here's a question. Which universities in Austria have the highest percentage of open access works? And we'll click on this one. And what we get here is that we're just looking for institutions. We want the country to be Austria, and we want it to be educational. And we're looking now at all works, right? We just want to grab all the works that match these institutions and then group them and calculate is open access percentage. So we've added that as one of our metrics here. And then we're sorting by it. So this gives us a ranked list by the percentage of open access works that each of these institutions has. All right. So now let's look at one that has to do with a kind of aggregation type that we haven't done as much in OpenAlex so far, which is, here's a question. What types of climate change research does the University of Arizona do? I'm gonna click on that one. And here we're saying we're aggregating by topics. And so this is something that's, I think, more novel now that we can aggregate by any of the types in OpenAlex. And we want to say, looking at works that have the SDG climate action and the institution, University of Arizona, give me the topics and rank them by works count. So that's what we're getting right here. I did not know that University of Arizona worked on tree ring climate responses a lot. So that's fun to see from this response. Let's do one more about topics. So let's have a question about collaboration between France and Germany. I want to know what topics do they work on that result in the highest FWCI. So this one is pretty easy to do too, right? We say we're looking for topics, and the work set has to be things that are include the country France and Germany. So that says that they've co-authored on that particular paper. And we're looking at the mean FWCI as an output column. And we're able to rank that these are the topics that when Germany and France collaborate on, they're having the most impact, getting cited the most. Interesting to see. Okay, now let me show you sort of a meatier query. So here, this is a question about countries. We say, what countries does Spain collaborate with on cybersecurity? We'll click on this one, and first we'll see we're grouping by countries now, but here we've got a lot more queries because it's easy to say that the country includes Spain, but there isn't one topic that really sums up all of cybersecurity. So I needed to go in and choose a whole bunch of those topics and put them all together. And so you'll notice that this is getting to be a beefier query up top, and we also have these parentheses here, which indicate that we're trying to do a boolean grouping. So this is a great case where the outline view is going to be especially helpful for you. So I open this up in the outline view. Now I can see all of these sort of on a line by themselves, but you can also see that there's some indentation and structure in the way that we're grouping them using and or. And so what this is telling you right now is that there are two main components to the search, and those are grouped together by and, although I could, if I wanted to, change that to or. But the second part, this is 2 and then 2.1, those are all grouped together and they're grouped together by or. And again, I could change that to and if I want to, but all of those pieces inside will change because each group is going to be connected with the same Boolean operator. But this is the case that is probably going to come up a lot, is where you say, I want to search for the Spain is a requirement. We need that one. But then I just wanted to match any one of these filters. And so this is a way that you can group them and give them a boolean operator to say any one of them will do. And the way that you create these groups is easy. It's just when you hit this and or operator, you have this option to group with above. So let's say this last one, I hit group with above, and now I can see it creates this new subpoint so that these two are created together, and I could change this operator if I want it to be and so this now gives an or, but these things are grouped together and it has to hit both of those things. And then similarly, if I want to ungroup, just hit ungroup and they outdent. And so now I've created a query that has 3 main points. It's got to be Spain. It's got to be one of these, but it has to be number 3. So this is hopefully, we're hoping it's an easy enough interface that will give you a lot of power that now you can create really complicated nested Boolean structures as much as you want to get exactly the right question that you're trying to answer. Okay, so I've now shown you most of the features. I'm just going to run through a few other examples just to help get your minds around all the different kinds of things that we can do here. So here's a question that says, which Diamond OA journals do researchers in Mexico publish in? Okay, so here we're looking at sources as our output type, but we want the source specifically to be a journal. We want it to have $0 APC, fully open access, and it's got to be included from works where the country includes Mexico. And here we go. This is a list of journals. These are mostly not familiar to me, but you can, like an OpenAlex, click on them to get more information about what any of those journals are. Let's do another one involving journals. Let's say you're looking for which journals publish the highest cited research on coral bleaching. Click on that one. So again, we're looking for sources that are journals based on works that include coral bleaching. And here's the total list. We included the total citation sum to say that's the metric we were interested in, is who's got the most citations. And this is it. The journal Coral Reefs has come out as number 1, followed by Science. And so I'm going to just do one last one to show you just other types of entities that you might be interested in asking questions about. I want to know, for Notre Dame University, how do they contribute to sustainable development goals? I'm going to click on this one. So we are now aggregating by the SDGs, looking only at the works that come from Notre Dame University. And this is a ranked list based on number of works of all of the SDGs in order of how many publications Notre Dame University had that were contributing towards those goals. All right, so we have I think like I mentioned, we have about 80 other example queries on here. We'd love to get more examples from you guys if you are working or testing this stuff out so we can keep adding to this list. But that was a quick tour and that showed you the functionality. I mean, that just what I've shown with this basic structure at the top of creating a sentence that says what you want to get and what work set you care about when you're getting it, and then being able to customize exactly what fields of data you want, how you want to sort them, output and download the whole thing. That is the core functionality that we've been building on right now. And I hope you enjoyed looking at it. So I think I'm ready now to turn it over to questions and answers. I'm going to stop sharing for a second so I can take a look at what's going on.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. A quick thank you to everyone who attended and everyone who's watching this afterwards. I'm going to stop the recording now and we can move right into the Q&A. We've already got a couple good questions, I think, to start us off. But quickly, Brett, any last words to people on what to expect next or how they should contact you if they've got lots of fantastic ideas?
Yep. Yeah, great. So like I said, we're still in development, sort of in an alpha phase right now. At this moment, if you're super excited and want to get a test drive, I'd be happy to do a demo session with you. And you can just reach out to me at brett@ourresearch.org. We're targeting in about a month from now to release this as a private beta so that it won't be available to everyone, but to sort of our trusted group. And I'm sure everybody on this list is part of that trusted group so that you'll be able to play with it yourself then. But we'll still be really interested in getting feedback on what's working, what isn't working. And then going forward, as mentioned, we want to clarify what the sustainability sort of model is for us in offering this at scale to lots of people. During an initial test phase, we might be a little bit looser on that, but we're going to have to make sure that we get that set. So that's something that we'd love to get feedback from you about, and we'll be updating you as we make releases.
All right, fantastic. Thanks again.
Yep.